Rob Roth is in front of a hotel in Santa Rosa that was among the buildings that was destroyed. Rob, when you see this, it reminds me of the Oakland Hills firestorm.
Well, it does, and everything is so spread out. There's these pockets of just absolute devastation and big pockets, and unfortunately, we're standing in front of one of them. So behind me is the Fountain Grove Hotel, and it is completely unrecognizable. We understand that the guests were evacuated safely, and there's just nothing left of it. And then if you look to our right, up the hill, a second luxury hotel, the Hilton. That too is gone. In fact, it's still burning. There are no firefighters here. Again, we have heard of no injuries, and that is part and parcel of what you see in and around parts of Santa Rosa. Now, earlier this morning and this afternoon, we were on the eastern side. This is the northern part of Santa Rosa. We were on the eastern part in a neighborhood called Rincon Valley, and there was about 40-45 homes. Perhaps 3/4 of them were completely gone. We talked to many people, even people whose homes were saved. They're not taking any chances. We met one man who was packing up his car. He's heading out. There are stories of people who evacuated overnight and then went back to try to see if their home is okay, but some of the roads are closed, and so they don't know. One woman she raises chickens. She doesn't know how they're doing. So it's a very trying time. And we heard one story that I had never heard before, and that is that one home, he goes back to his home, and he sees that his outbuilding, he had a trailer, that was gone. And the flames were just starting to get onto the main part of his house, and he and neighbors doused it with bottled water. They all got around, they raided their garages and refrigerators, and were pouring bottled water on it, and it worked. It saved the home. He said that had he gone there 2 or 3 minutes later, it would have been too late to do that. We've seen the neighbors and the community sort of rise up, as we've seen in other places, and help. There's a lot of shock, a lot of anguish. And one other problem is people whose homes haven't been destroyed are still concerned because, you know, the winds have changed. About an hour or two ago, things were calm, but now there's gusts that have come in breezes, and they don't know if this could reignite, and the homes that are safe now may be in trouble by later tonight. So it's a very precarious situation here in Santa Rosa, Frank.
Rob, I remember that you covered the Oakland Hills firestorm, and as I recall, a firefighter essentially told you to get out at one point and may have ended up saving your life. Compare the Oakland Hills firestorm to what you're seeing there.
Well, the Oakland Hills firestorm started and spread through these huge gusts of wind. It also happened during the daytime. This seemed to be overnight. So and I think it was a bit of an advantage, at least, to have daylight, so that people aren't being awoken out of their sleep to evacuate. There's other issues, though, with the Oakland Hills fire. The roads, there were narrow roads and parked cars, and it was very hard for people to get down the hill, and for firefighters to get up the hill with people coming down. I don't know that was so much of a problem here in Santa Rosa, but here in Santa Rosa anyway, the areas were just so spread out that firefighters who had their hands full couldn't quite get everywhere, and you see evidence of it because neighbors were telling us that they got their garden hoses and watered things down. And like that. So I think this seems to be more spread out in pockets, whereas the Oakland firestorm was this huge swath of much of Oakland and Berkeley. So I guess that's the difference. But when you lose your home, whether it's one of the biggest firestorms of the century or something else, a loss is a loss, and these people are just beside themselves. It's anguish, and no one sort of sensed this was really coming.
Rob, is that whole area
just to seem out of the blue?
Is that whole area evacuated, or are people being allowed in at all to look at the damage?
Well, the area where we are now, where this hotel area, no one's around. I think they were just hotel guests, and they're gone. And we're not far from where Alex Savage is set up, by that shopping mall. So this isn't, where we are isn't so much of a residential neighborhood. Now, where we just came from, in the Rincon Valley, that is, and people have been having various degrees of success being able to get back to their homes to see if they're okay. Or not, depending on where they live, because some of the roads are blocked off by police because it's, active fire. And those people don't know what their status is, if they still have a home or not. And again, people who, and people who are leaving, a lot of them have relatives they can stay with or friends. That isn't so much for them the hard part. The hard part is, just not knowing where this is all going to end up.
Rob, as I sort of look over your shoulder, it appears as though there is at least one home that is still standing. Can you bring our viewers and myself up to date as we just now are joining you? Is the entire area destroyed, or is that right? Is that in fact a home behind you? I can see a vehicle parked outside of it. Is that in fact a home that's still standing? Oh no, I see the flames now.
No. What you're looking at is part of the hotel. This is part of the Hilton Hotel. Where I was standing behind me was the Fountain Grove Hotel. So there are two hotels essentially on the same property, just separated by a driveway. It's the Hilton that you're seeing burning. There's a vehicle in front of it, but I don't believe the vehicle belongs with the hotel. So yeah. This is part of it. This Hilton is in sections. It's got various parts to it, and at least 2 or 3 of those parts are like what you're looking at. They're
it's
either destroyed or on their way to being destroyed.
It's a huge hotel. You could see it right there from 101 when you're driving up 101 through Santa Rosa. Rob, the one thing I don't notice here are any firefighters. I imagine they're just too busy with other things that they're essentially just going to let this burn itself out?
That's my guess, and that, the same is true in that the residential neighborhood that I was describing. We didn't see firefighters there either. I think that their hands are so full, and that they've made certain decisions as to where most of the damage could be, where most of the homes could be, where most of the safety, where the safety risks are. That they're not here putting this out, and perhaps it's more a question of getting people safe rather than trying to fight these fires. And in all honesty, even if the firefighters came now, I'm not really sure what it is they could do here. I suppose they could keep it from spreading. There's always the concern with embers and with the winds. That an ember could just sort of silently blow across the street, and then all of a sudden another neighborhood or another building is gone. But as far as saving any of these buildings here, I think that time has passed.
Yeah, and Rob, I guess perhaps I was being a little optimistic when I looked over your shoulder and could at least see what looked like a part of a building. I had no idea once the camera was able to give me more perspective that it was actually destroyed and actively engaged in fire. So thank you for showing us that. It's just such a heartbreaking scene there throughout Santa Rosa. We're going to come back to you a little bit later.
And I just wanted to point out, this is just one scene, one scenario. There's dozens or more.
Rob, can I just ask you real quick? It looks like the winds have certainly died down. Is that true?
This moment they have. That is true. But I'd say about a half an hour ago, earlier in the morning they had died down, and that was the good thing. Then about noon or so they started to gust, and you could tell the smoke just kept churning and churning. In the last few minutes, the wind has died down some, but I don't know how much. I think that may be temporary, because now that I'm talking, now I can feel even more of a breeze as I just started answering that question. So it's been sporadic, but you get the feeling that the winds are coming back. And as I said, people are worried about that because their house may be standing now, but if if the winds hit just the wrong way and the embers hit the wrong way, A house that's standing now may not be standing tomorrow.
Rob Roth, thank you so much.